Hillary, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
How did you get into theater?
Oh, goodness. Well, I started when I was 8, and I started doing community theater in Kansas, so that's where I lived.
Well,
that's where
Kansas,
I grew up.
all right.
Yeah, little town. And I started doing, I think I did 2 shows, and then I went and did a show with the adult theater, which was so exciting because I was the only kid that was able to do it. So when I was 12, I had my first, real taste of, a big role. So
what was the show?
Secret Garden.
The Secret Garden. You were the only kid.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, and then they had Colin Craven, so Mary Lennox and Colin. So we were the only 2 kids. Yeah. And I enjoyed it so much that I remember my vocal coach, when she was helping me prepare for it, she told me, this will probably change your life. And it did. It did. Very much so did.
So why? So you already had a vocal coach at the time?
I did, yes. Yeah. I was working with a choir that I was a part of. And so she was the director of that choir. And she told me, she was like, okay, I'm going to work with you on this role, and we're going to get it down, and you're going to go in there, and you're going to have fun. And that's what happened, and I have not been able to let go of theater since.
Wow. So do you consider, because I know you do all these things. You're like, we call this the quadruple threat, if there's such a thing. You sing, act, dance, and oh, by the way, you write songs. What do you really consider yourself?
Well, that's hard. I'd say mainly I am a singer-songwriter. I do country music. That's kind of where my focus is right now. I know I grew up doing theater, and I love it, and I'll always love it. But that's kind of where I'm heading. That's where my direction is. I'm hoping to write more songs and do that. So
what is it that inspires you to write a song?
Anything and everything. I think.
Really?
I think a lot of it is life experiences. Being able to help people or relate to people, and that's why I love doing what I do, is to be able to relate with people, and that's my favorite thing about it.
And how do you get your music out there? I mean, there's so many ways now to do that.
There really is. There really is. I'm planning on starting to do YouTube videos. Yes. So I'm planning on doing that. And then I like to do Periscope broadcasts and YouNow broadcasts, which is like a live YouTube thing where people can talk to you and you can kind of interact, and it's like all just happening. So I love to do that, to get my music out there, and then I perform in usually the Tomball area, Spring area, just wherever I can. So.
Right. So back to the theater. Do you have a preference for a type of theater that you do?
I really love musicals. They're my favorite. And I love musicals where you can get lost in the story. And that's the thing that I love about theater that differentiates it from what I do on stage as a performer, as a musician. It's like you create a world, and you invite that person into that world to go along with you on the journey. And that's what I think is so amazing and magical about theater. And so I want to bring that to my shows with whatever I'm doing. I want people to experience it, and I want people to have that freedom and feel like they can be whoever they are, no matter what, and not worry about what other people think, because I think that that's so hard for us as people. It's like we have this idea of, I want to be this person, but then it holds us back because we're afraid, oh, that person's going to think this or this. So that's what I want to do with music, because I want to create an environment of freedom for people to be who they are.
So how do you get used to the different audiences? But certainly when people are here for theater, I mean, they chose to be here. That's not the same thing if you go to a bar or something like that. I mean, yes, they choose to be there. And yes, they know you're probably singing or something like that one. But I know I have a lot of friends that also play in bars as for that. And when they come to the stage, they get freaked out sometimes because they go, oh my goodness, they're listening. As opposed to you're just kind of background music. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. A lot of places where I sing, it's like it's background music. And you get used to that. Oh, I can kind of get away with whatever, you know.
Because they're not really
they're listening, but they're grooving, but they're not like listening critically. Yeah. I think it's exciting. There's more electricity in the air when you step on the stage and everyone's just holding their breath, waiting to see what's going to happen. So I think I live for that. So that's what I've missed, I think, too, like doing what I do. Because I took a break from theater for about 5 years and played my music and did all that. And then it's like, I just wanted to come back because I love that. I love that electric feel of it when you're on stage and people are just there. And I love it. So.
Where do you get your facial expression? Because people, they say that, they're like, she is so expressive on stage. Where'd you get those?
It's funny because I've always been that way. It's just
that's
one
just
of those
you?
things. Yeah, and it's funny because the first time someone mentioned that was when I was in 5th grade, and we went to a choir competition in Dallas with my choir from Kansas, and we went, and we were so excited because we were going to Six Flags, and we were riding rides, and we were in this competition. Yes. We were the only choir that wasn't in high school at the time, so like we won first place out of everybody. But the thing that stuck out to me the most was that out of, I think we had 80 kids in the choir at the time, they noticed my facial expressions. I was like shocked. I was like, is that really, like, do I do that? Like, oops, I don't know. I guess. So it's kind of hard because people can read me like a book. It's like, because it's like I'm expressive. Like if I'm thinking it, it's just going to be there. So.
But you say expressive. Now, is that really you, or is it a character that's different, like a persona that's out? So like you could be feeling one way, but what you're projecting is different.
I feel like it's just me because I'm not really good at like being something I'm not. So I think it's just like, that's just me, like it or not. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's not.
But it's very honest. But and people like honesty, right? So they can just tell, hey, this is, it's honest. It's great energy. I like it. Yes. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So your musicals and acting, how did you get into dancing?
Oh, I love dancing. Yeah. That's one of those things that I miss too with my shows because it's like I love it. Dancing was with theater. I never really did any like dance classes or anything. Yeah, and I've always wanted to. I want to still. I plan to. It's like on my bucket list, so it will happen. But yeah, so I just with theater is just where I've got my dance from, and I enjoy it every single time, and it's
so it's easy for you. You can pick it up easily. It's not a big deal.
It depends. Certain things. Yeah. I think that's that way with everybody. But once I get it down, it's like. It's more of a challenge, and that's electrifying to me because I'm like, okay, I can do this. I enjoy it. I do. It's really fun, and that's something I want to bring to my shows that I do outside of theater as well because I think that dance is another layer of expression where you get to express your soul, and where words fail, music speaks, and then dance is like that personified. Like you just, it's so, yeah, I love it.
It's amazing. So why the hiatus? You said you took about 5 years or so.
I did.
What's going on?
I did. Well, I wanted to seriously pursue music and go to Nashville and do some songwriting and really kind of sink my teeth into that world because it's so different.
Oh yeah.
It's so different performing out and doing that, and I really. The reason I wanted to do that is because I feel like I have messages in my heart that I want to get out to people, and I can do that through music, and I can express that. And so I did that for a while. I performed out places, went to Nashville. I was going like once a month for a while. And then I decided I needed something different to keep me going and to I feel like as a creative person, you fill your well in different ways. I like reading, I like theater, and it brought this freshness to whatever else I'm doing creatively that I'm so glad I did it. Wow. I missed it and I love it, and
well, we're glad to have you here. Absolutely. Although, like I said, the Nashville. The dream. Yeah. I mean, I was working with one of the best doctors we've ever had. He was a GP, and he had a CD on his desk. And I'm like, what's that about? I says, well, I want to go to Nashville, and he did. Actually, he did go to Nashville for a while, and says, my doctor's in Nashville.
Well, hey, there you go.
And it didn't dress like a typical doctor. He was in jeans or something like that. Most personal doctor you ever had. When you'd sit down with him, the first thing he'd ask you was, how are you doing? And he didn't mean I'm feeling good or bad. That's not what we're talking about. He wanted to know about you. What's going on in your life? And the first 5 minutes of that conversation was just that. What's going on in your life?
That's beautiful.
And then, I know it is beautiful.
It really
you don't see that in real doctor.
don't.
And then it's, okay, now why are you really here? Okay? But no, it was a great way. I loved him. I miss him. I miss him so much.
That's really beautiful. And I feel like a lot of people like that aren't even like that nowadays. It's like we're passing ships. And we are. Do we really take the time to really see the person underneath it? And I think that it's beautiful when someone actually takes the chance to do that, because I remember there was one time I was sitting in Chipotle with some songwriters of mine, and we just done this songwriting conference, so we were brain dead, and we were like trying to take in all this information, and something struck out to me I don't remember who said it. Somebody around the table said it. And I was like, how many people live and die and don't actually live? or actually pursue their dreams. And I feel like as a songwriter, it's our job to say, hey, no, there's more. Reach for more. Because there is more. And like to bring that out. And I feel like that's such an amazing blessing to be able to do that for people.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's almost like, wow, like, can I really do this? You know, at the same time. Right. But it's like, if you don't, who will? And I think that that's so important because insecurities and things that hold us back from being the people we were meant to be, like, that's why I do what I do, is because I want to change that, and I want that to be different.
That's great. You know, the arts have the power to change lives, and it's really amazing. You know, whether it's through song, through dance, through performance, or whatever. And it's a shame that it's minimized sometimes. That you know, it's like, well, it's just a show. Well, for some people, yeah, it's exactly it. It's just entertainment. But it's amazing some of the people. I can tell you the stories of people whose lives are changed by walking through the doors.
That's beautiful.
When I say change lives, they're thinking of ending it all. Yeah. They come see a show, and all of a sudden they're writing stuff. They're organized. Their life is completely changed 180.
Seriously.
And when you see that, you're like, wow. Yeah. It is worth what doing. It's worth getting that message out.
It's like, that's why you do what you do. Yeah. And it's like when you feel that on stage and you can share that moment with someone, it's the most incredible feeling in the world. Yeah. I sing at nursing homes during the week and during the day sometimes, and that's the most beautiful thing, is to see somebody come in and they'll bring them in, and sometimes it's like they're getting seated and they're not really, you can tell they're not really there, they're not really connecting with whatever's going on around them, and then when you start to sing that song that they know, and then all of a sudden their face lights up, and then their mouth and the words, and they're singing along, it's like they just come to life, and like to see that memory of wherever they were whenever they first heard that song, or whatever memories they have just play across their face, and to be able to share that with someone, it's the most incredible feeling. Like, there's nothing like it in the whole world that can compare to that.
So when you write, the words come first, or does the music come first?
Well, it used to be the words. It was really weird because I used to write poetry. Right. And then that kind of, I was like, oh, well, why not write song lyrics? It's like poetry, but just a little bit more motion to it. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. And I started writing lyrics. And then now it's more the music, because now it's more, I sit down and I'm like, how do I feel right now? And what would that sound like? Right. And for me, it's therapeutic for myself. Sure. And I'm hoping therapeutic for others who feel the same way. Right. But that's kind of where my creative process is coming from right now, is really just what would that scene feel like, and what would that be? So I try to create that with the piano or guitar or whatever I'm using.
When you give this gift of song and you put it out there, I'm sure it's not received all the same way.
No,
right?
No, it's not.
So how do you deal with that? You know, it's a lot like theater, and that, you know, you put on a performance or whatever, and then you get a response back, and sometimes that feeds you, sometimes it hurts.
That's very, very true. That's very true. And it's one of those things that songwriters talk about it a lot. And they'll say, okay, when you sit down and you write a song, you're thinking, okay, I want this to be true. I want this to be honest. So sometimes we write almost too much to the truth so that it doesn't actually come across the way that we wanted it to. So sometimes it's like, it's good because I can say, oh, did that actually say what I was trying to say? Because I think sometimes you can say something, you're like, oh, that was so clear to me. And then everyone's like, what? What did you mean? Wow. So that's good, because then I can go and I can rewrite it. Or I can say, hey, like, how can I say this in a different way that puts that person there, instead of just saying, this is how I feel.
Where you want them to be.
Yeah.
I just finished talking to Scott McCarley, and he's been writing, he didn't say country, kind of Americana type stuff for 50 years. And he says the same thing too, is that you have a certain message you want to put out there, but how it gets received, it may not be exactly the way you thought or wanted. And so now you have to change to make sure that you get your intended effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Or message.
Yeah, and so I think that that's awesome whenever I can play it for someone and say, hey, how did that make you feel? What did you think about this part? Because then it gives me that feedback that I need to keep rewriting and to keep going over and making it better. So,
what would you tell up-and-coming folks about writing?
Songwriters, I would say the biggest thing is dealing with fear and dealing with doubt, personal doubt, because as I've watched different seminars from different songwriters, the biggest ones out there still deal with that. They still sit down and they have a blank page and they think, how do I put something on this? This is like a blank canvas. It's like that feeling of like, can I really be uncensored enough to just pour my soul out? And I think that getting okay with that is the biggest thing as a songwriter, and never losing that. Because I think a lot of times songwriters, it's like you are told, hey, learn the craft,
Right.
and then forget it. So it's like you have to remember
Right.
to always go back to being okay with just, hey, I'm just going to bare my soul and I'm going to be honest and I'm not going to be afraid of that. And I think holding on to that and never losing that is where you get the best songs. And that's where you get the best creativity, because all that the craft does is give you paintbrushes.
Right.
So whenever you are in that moment, you're like, okay, I feel this way. It's like, okay, I can paint this way and I can make this way. And,
Right.
and to never just put yourself in a box. So basically just making sure that you're not afraid, that you do it anyways. Sometimes you're
Right.
afraid and you just do it anyways. So that's the biggest advice I could ever give.
There's interesting. I haven't seen the whole article, but there's an article, I don't know if it's a professor from U of H, and she talks about the power of vulnerability. It's kind of interesting. It's also just true in acting too. I know there's an acting technique, like somebody sits in the chair and without touching them, you have to convince them to give up their seat. And usually the only way to do that is to be vulnerable. So it's kind of an interesting thing. That's not something our society teaches. No, you need to be strong and you put out the right image and all this kind of stuff. But when we talk about honesty, when we talk about, vulnerability, they have power of their own.
They really do, and that's where people's lives get changed.
Yes.
It's like if you're not willing to be vulnerable and put yourself out there, it's not going to change people the same way. It's not going to actually get to the heart of the situation.
Right.
Yeah, you might touch the surface, and they
Right.
might be able to connect with you a little bit, but once you share that story, that they're like, wait, I've been there. And I know how that feels. And it's like, wow, like they get it. And so like that has way more power than being strong.
Yeah, that's right.
Too,
Yeah.
Like it's like that like vibrato of, I've never gone through anything. It's like we all have.
Right.
It's like, and no one believes it anyway.
That's right.
At the end of the day, like you're working
That's right.
so hard to like create this image, and it's like, is that really you?
No.
So yeah, for sure.
What do you want to do in theater that you haven't done yet?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I've missed it so much. I've had ample time
To think about this?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have, because for 5 years, like I almost didn't even go see shows because because I missed it so much that I would sit there in the audience and I'd just be like, I just want to be up there. So like for me, I want to have a bigger role again. I want to do that one more time at least.
For instance, pick one. 2, 3, whatever.
My dream role, one of my dream roles is Eponine in Les Miserables.
Oh my goodness.
Because,
Oh my goodness, yeah.
I mean, everyone wants to
Sing
do
your
that.
guts out. All right.
Yeah, because that play, Les Miserables, speaks to me so much because of what it displays. And it has so many different intricate meanings that you can take away from it, that the depth of it is just beautiful. And the music and the way that it expresses emotion and it captures it. And I can't even explain it. There aren't words for it. Like, I don't know how they did that, but it's always been one of my favorite shows.
Hero. He's a tenor. I'm not a tenor. I can't sing that. I'm sorry. I can't sing. I would love to, because it brings tears to your eyes.
Yes.
And I can't do that because I'm not a tenor. Darn.
It's one of those things that it's like, in a way, like there was a period of time where I lost my voice and I could not sing, and they didn't
Lost
know
your
why.
voice?
Yeah, it was very painful for me to sing, and this was years and years ago, but I couldn't sing for a while, and so I just had to listen, and through listening, I learned so much, because it was like when someone else sings for you, and coming from that perspective of like feeling the way that they feel it and having them actually express it to where it makes my soul take flight. And it's like that, seeing that perspective gave me a whole different respect for what we do as actors and actresses and singers, because we are, in a way, their freedom. Like we are the ones that are like getting to show them what it feels like to fly.
Right.
So it's such a beautiful thing, even when you can't do that. The fact that you appreciate it, and the fact that they can express it for you is just so beautiful.
That's interesting. I was thinking back to it happens. It's certainly in faith experiences. We'll call it the desert experience, right?
Oh yeah.
Walking through the 40 days, 40 nights kind of thing, where nobody wants to do that.
No.
But you learn so much from the experience.
You do.
Just like you did from this experience. You lost your voice. And most people say, like, weren't you just jealous of that person because they were singing your song that you wrote? And But you weren't. You took something away from that and made you, as a songwriter, richer.
Yeah, and I think you can look at any life experience like that. And it's so important to do that. And it's hard. It's very hard. I think that, I mean, I wasn't perfect. You say you took that.
Yeah, right.
There were times where I was like, oh man, I wish I could sing right now. It's like you have no idea. But it was through that it had to last long enough to teach me the patience to get to the lesson. And I think sometimes in life, we have to go through that to get the beautiful parts of it. And we can take that and we can learn with that, and we can help others who are where we were. Right. And that's something else with my music that I love to do, is I love to be able to help people from where I was. When I was in 7th grade, I was celiac, but I didn't know it. And so I would get all of these dizzy spells, and I ended up not being able to go to school because of it, and it just would last so long. And that experience taught me so much that I was able to relate to other people who are going through health issues. Wow. And that for me is such a big deal, because whenever I was going through my health issues, I was like, I'm the only one. Like, it's just
But
me.
You're not.
Yeah. And so
Sarah
it's like
is that way too. She did theater for almost 5+ years. Same kind of thing. Health issues
and it's like that gives us that chance to connect with people out there who don't know anybody who has that, and who can't
think they're alone.
Connect. Yeah,
they're not.
Exactly. And I think that's so beautiful, and the way that God uses that to help people is amazing. I mean, I've the things that I've been blessed to experience in this world so far have been amazing, and I can't imagine what He's going to do with my life in the future, because it's just. There's one instance that I was able to write a song for a girl that had leukemia in Kansas that I'd never met. And I felt like God told me, like, no, like, this is her song. You write her song and you speak into that. Because I think a lot of people feel like, oh, well, I'm sick and I haven't been healed, so I don't have enough faith, and that's why. And it's like, no, that's not it at all. And I feel like sometimes that's so damaging to people when they hear that, because they're already in that place of like, does God even still care? Because here I'm sick and all this stuff. And it's like, no, like, God's more than enough. Right. And I was able to write a song called More Than Enough for her. And through writing that, I was finally able to find healing through whatever I had gone through. It was like this crazy thing where we connected and we were never able to meet. And she ended up passing away. But before she did, she said that song was exactly how she felt. And to do that as a songwriter, like, there's nothing else that you could ever possibly do in this world to be able to write something for someone and have them actually connect with it in that way when they need it the most. And I think that's why I'm a songwriter, and that's why I keep doing what I'm doing. Wow. And no matter what, it's like I'm just going to keep writing songs and keep sharing life experiences and being real. Wow.
So you brought up two things, obviously. One is faith. So faith is obviously very important to you.
Yes,
how did that come about?
Through my illness. When I was very sick, they kept giving me different medications and saying, here, try this, see what happens. And it would never really work. And there would be times where I would be bedridden for a week. Right. And because these medications just wouldn't work. Right. And so I lost out on friends. And I remember the worst part that ever happened to me was getting kicked out of theater and getting kicked out of choir, because I wasn't at school or participating enough to be considered. Like, I had some teachers like the year before that were like, oh yeah, it's fine, just submit a monologue, do a video, like we'll include you. And like, that was like keeping me going. They kicked you out because you were sick. They kicked me out because I was sick. And then at that point I was like, I literally have nothing. I can't do my arts. I can't sing. I can't act. I don't have friends anymore because...
So who are you?
Well, yeah, exactly. That's when I found myself in Christ. And that's where God met me in that position where I was. And it was like, that's where I was grounded in my faith. And then as I got better and as I've gotten to do more things, I don't take it for granted anymore. And it means so much more to me now. And now I know what really matters at the end of the day. And so it's like that experience has defined me. It's created who I am, and it's who I want to be. That's where I want to be, and that's the person I want to be, and that's what I want to bring to help people. That's
wild. The other thing is, I bet most people wouldn't believe, I wouldn't believe it, is do you ever get sad? Like, I think she's on happy pills here. What the heck is this?
It's so funny because someone else asked me that the other day, and I thought that's the strangest thing.
Because most people, if you put a camera on someone, probably 90% of the time they look like they're sad. It's not that they are, right? But they're not smiling. You kind of go through life, and then somebody cracks a joke, and then you have a good time, like we're having now. Right?
Yes, exactly.
But most of the time, it's just kind of. Yeah. But I wouldn't believe that. And how do you deal with that?
Everyone does, but for me, the reason that I don't know, I just love life and I love people, and whenever I'm around people, I just get so happy and excited to be there. And the thing that I love is getting to know people, because when you get to know people, and I love bringing out good things in them, because I feel like so many times, especially for myself, you hear all this negative, from the world, from yourself, from your, just the people around you. And it's if you're not building each other up, why are we here? Yeah. And so it's I just love being able to get to know people and see who they really are. Right. And so that excites me, and I get excited, and then I'm happy, and then, that's just what happens. I don't know.
That's fun. So, why do we believe the bad stuff, though? We seem to believe the bad stuff more than the good stuff. Why is that?
We're all hard on ourselves, Yeah. It's one of those things that it's easier to believe something bad about you than something good, because someone says something good, and you're like, oh, thank you. And then you pay way more. You're just okay, that happened, but oh well, and you pay attention to the negative, and it's it's kind of teaching yourself to think differently about that, and to be you know what, when people react negatively to us, there's usually from their own thing, too. And that's the craziest part about it, is it's not even usually necessarily always about us. It's just they had something going on, or they were having a bad day, and something was going on with them. And it's when you see it in that way, it's you just love the person. It's just hard not to just love them and be I'm sorry that you felt that way. That something was happening. And for me, with my illness, I feel everyone experiences the same amount of pain and conflict in life. And it's to the same level of unbearable to other people. It might be something for me, oh, it's not that bad, but for someone else, that's a big burden. And so I think realizing that through whatever I was going through, it's everybody's going through something. Wow. Regardless of if it's little to you or insignificant to you, it's a big deal to them, because we always have something we're going through. So just remembering that, I want to speak into that in other people, and I want to say, hey, it's okay, and you're going to make it through this, and it's going to be great, and you're going to have great times, and it's going to be fantastic, and you can be happy through that, because it's not your circumstances. It's how you want to be. It's there was something, I don't remember what it was. Oh, the mashed potato and the hard-boiled egg. You submit them to boiling water, and they do different things. The hard-boiled egg becomes hard. The potato softens. The same circumstances, but totally different things happen. So you can take two people and put them in the same situation, the same circumstances, but it's well, wait, how do I want to be? And then when you decide that, and you're that no matter what, that's the most beautiful thing that you can do. And so that's what I want to give to people with my music. And I want to say, hey, you don't have to be a statistic. Just because this happened to you, just because people say, oh, you're a victim of your circumstances, you don't have to be that. You can be whoever you want to be despite that. And you can take whatever you went through and help someone else. And your scars can be something beautiful and not something to be ashamed of.
I think we have the next Tony Robbins. New motivational speaker here. Yeah, Hillary Morris. Yeah, give it up, guys. No, seriously. Back to the illness, though. Not because this is a bad thing, but I also find illness can also be very isolating.
It can. And that's something that, for me, was the biggest thing that I experienced, was the isolation. Because my friends, it's oh, they'd call and they'd be excited. Can you hang out? Oh, I can't. And after that happens so many times, it's they stop calling. And then you realize you're just alone, without God. there's nothing else.
And even then, sometimes you kind of feel like, where the hell are you?
Yeah, exactly. That's what that faith coming of, you met me here, and I know you met me here, and you did this here, and it's like keeping yourself in that state of, oh, I know he's going to be there no matter what. But isolation, it can be a really big thing, and that's why I feel music cuts through that. Mm-hmm. And so you can have somebody that's out in that audience, and they're sitting there, and they feel so alone. Right. And then all of a sudden, they see this character in this show or in a song, and a line just drives through all of that and just cuts through it and just like speaks right to them in a way that nothing else can. Because there's been so many times where as a musician, I'll be playing a song, and then afterwards, I have people come up and they just start telling me their life story. It's like the most crazy thing, because like let's say you weren't a musician, you wouldn't just go up and be like, "Hey, so like this happened to me," and like
people start moving away. Okay,
like, whoa,
nice knowing you. TMI. Okay,
but like it's like music changes that, and it's like, no, it's okay. It's okay to share who you are and where you are, and be yourself, and it's healing for people in a way that they can't get that otherwise. I know a lot of people feel like they can't open up or they can't be vulnerable, and the music does that. And it lets them do that with themselves. I think that's the scariest part about it is we, as ourselves, it's hard to be vulnerable with ourselves. And music helps you do that because it's like, can I really be real with myself and with God? And sure, God knows, but like sometimes we're too stubborn to admit it or to admit that we are where we are. Right. And I think music helps us be okay with that. And once you're okay with that, you can start moving forward.
Wow. How often, or say how many times do you have to do a song before you feel this is right?
Well, it depends. Like, writing wise, usually once it's done, but other songs it takes a long time. Like I have some songs that I've started and I have a chorus and a verse, and it's just like it's just not there yet, and it just needs to sit, or I need to like go back in and I need to really work on it, because some songs it's like it just comes to you, and some songs it's like you really have to work at it, but both of them can still be beautiful. I love the process. I love being able to write something, and I love co-writing. I think that's like one of my favorite things ever, because you meet someone, sometimes you're total strangers, and you sit down and you're like, okay, let's write a song. It's like, it's sometimes the most amazing thing, and sometimes it's not. It's like dating. It's like sometimes you get along with people, and sometimes you're like, okay, that was great. Thank you so much. Thank you. And then like you just move on with your life. But it's like that for everybody with co-writing. You get so personal with songwriting because you're dealing with big issues that it's like, it's very interesting. You get to know your songwriter. It's like you're friends after that. Like, if anything.
So when you say co-write, does one do lyrics and one does a song, or you share both?
Well, it depends. Sometimes you have people who are like, oh, I'm just a lyricist, or oh, I'm just a melodic person. And then you have people who do both. So usually you'll get in a room and you'll just start talking, kind of like how we're doing now. We could even write a song, so
it's been a while. It's been a while since I've written a song. Trust me. Yeah.
But you just start talking about life, and then you get on a subject, and you're like, hey, I feel that, and then you start doing with that, and whoever starts feeling the music, they start playing the music, and then you start, I'm thinking about this idea and lyrics. So usually when I write, we all do both. Sometimes there's 3 writers in the room, sometimes there's 2. There can even be more in certain instances. But usually it just kind of flows however it flows, and it's different with each person. Like sometimes I'll go in to co-write and this person already has the whole lyrics all done. And they're like, hey, can you write a melodic hook to this? Can you put this together? And then I do that. But it's like, it just all depends, and everyone's unique. And so you get a unique song every time, and you get to play to each other's strengths and weaknesses. Where I'm weak, they can bring that up, and they have that, and they're going for it, and then we just make the best out of both worlds.
What instruments do you play?
I play guitar and piano. I tried to play violin. Still working on it.
It's a tough one. Yeah.
It is very tough. My dad, one day, he comes home and he goes, by the way, I bought you a violin, and have fun. Just teach yourself, do whatever you want to do. And so I tried. I'm still working on it. I think it's fun, but I play by ear mainly because I don't really read music. I actually had, it's a funny story. One of my early piano teachers, she didn't know that I didn't know how to read music.
She didn't know?
She didn't
know! How did she not know?
This is how. She would give me a new piece of music. She'd set it up there, and this is how it sounds. This is how it's supposed to sound. She'd play it through for me.
Right.
And then I'd just kind of plunk around and like try to play it back from what I remembered her playing it.
Yeah, but you must be looking at the sheet or not looking at the sheet.
I was, but I was like looking at like, okay, it goes up and down here. So I would just kind of like, and she'd say, oh, that isn't right. I'd be like, oh, this sounds better. Is this right? And then once she found out that I couldn't, it took her, I think, a year to find out that I couldn't read music. Yeah. Once she found out, she refused to play it for me. So I like was lost. Like I would just be like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like
she forced you to sight read. Basically?
She did, and it didn't really work because, like, I wish it would have. I wish I would have stuck with it, but I would then find recordings of it and listen to it, and so I could play it, because otherwise I didn't know what I was doing, and so.
But you can hear it though. You see, you obviously can hear it. You've got talent, so.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. It would have helped me to learn how to read and to know theory. And I'm still kind of working on that and learning little things of that. I'm better now than I was. But I don't know. I feel like it would open a lot of doors creatively for songwriting, even though it's like the part that no one wants to do. Like,
of course
no one wants to do that part.
It's like going to class. Why do I have to go to class?
Like, why do I have to do this? But I don't know. It's got to be done, because otherwise it's like you're not as good as you could be.
So if you just start in a song and you're trying to come up with the melody, you start picking on the guitar? Or you pick it out on the piano?
It depends. I write differently on piano and guitar. Okay. It's really weird. I love writing outside, though, which is one of those things.
It's outside?
Yeah, like anywhere.
In nature?
Yes, because I feel like there's something about it that it inspires me. And it like puts me in a different like mood, and it just like, I get the best songs. So I can't really do that with piano, because that would be a little strange. I'd have to like haul it out. So I usually do that with guitar. I'll go outside and I'll go to like a park or something, and I'll be like, try to be away from where no one can hear me. So I'm just in my own little world, and I'll try to create that way, or I'll do piano. But piano, I usually get a lot more melodies that come out, because with guitar, I'm usually just strumming. But it's both songs. I love doing either one. So
violin. If you get violin down, what are you going to do with violin?
That's one of those things that I have always admired, people that play the violin. And whenever I went to Nashville for the first time, I was at the Bluebird Cafe. And this girl, she was like, oh, I have a local friend that's doing a show tonight. We should go out. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's cool. You know, I'm thinking, because she's younger. She's like my age. I'm thinking it's going to be some like, you know, like little band they put together. And it's like, no, it was Vince Gill and the Time Jumpers.
So have you seen Vince Gill?
Yes. Whoa. And I was just like, what? She's like, because when she was telling me about it, she was like, it's sold out, but my friend can get us in. So I'm thinking, oh, yeah, whatever. But it's Nashville, and I didn't think about that until I was there. And they had 3 fiddle players. And that was the coolest thing, just watching them up there. Just like, oh, it was so cool. So that's kind of where my inspiration is. And that's kind of what I would love to do with that at some point, if I ever could, is to just have fun with it and just play something just really awesome. I don't know.
That's incredible. You know, Vince Gill was on this stage, but it wasn't the Vince Gill show. It was I don't know, Arada, you know, one of the composers. Yeah, they do a lot of music for folks in Nashville. And so in order to promote their show, Vince kind of came along.
Well, hey.
They had 2 shows in one day. Both shows were completely different. It was as if they were just here to jam.
That is so
And in between
awesome.
Jamming, they would just tell stories. And it was funny. It's like our throats were so sore from laughing so much. But if you went to either show, it was completely different. It's just whatever the heck they wanted to do. I feel like playing this, and I'm going to tell you a story about Amy Grant now. And, you know, this guy, and this is, I wrote this, it was wonderful. But the guy is huge. So I was like, he could be a basketball player. But he's so down to earth.
And it's funny because what you just described is like exactly Nashville.
Wow.
Like wherever you go. It's just a bunch of people just jamming, sitting there, telling these amazing stories that you would not believe. That you're just like, wait, you sat and you wrote this for Reba? Like, what? Okay. And then this happened. And then you're just like, oh my gosh. It's like stories that it's like you come back with and you're like, if I wasn't there and I didn't know the credibility of these people, I wouldn't believe it.
Right.
Because there's this thing called Tin Pan South, and they're getting ready to do it again this year. I went last year. And it's just a bunch of songwriters that get up there, like Paul Overstreet, who wrote for Randy Travis, and all these people that just get up there and they play their songs like hit after hit after hit. And you're just like, what in the world what's in the water here? Like, what are they doing? Yeah. But and then there's stories and like everything, but that's just what it feels like. It feels like a big family that just gets together and they just tell stories and write songs. And it's the most amazing thing, but you get so full, I feel like, whenever you're there, that it's almost like you need time to breathe and just be like, there's so much songwriting going on that it's just leaking out of everywhere. Like everywhere you go, there's somebody just like telling a story and playing a song. And it's like, sometimes you have to kind of step back and be like, well, what's my story and where am I coming from? And like, it's so beautiful, but it's so easy to get lost in and just get swept away. And I think that as a songwriter too, it's important to be like, no, like make sure you still write you. And there's a songwriter, I don't remember who it was, but before he had his big hit, he got so lost in how everyone else did it that he forgot, how did I do it? You know, that worked for me, but like, it's like taking it back and being like, okay, how can I do this uniquely and not be afraid of that and stay true to that? Because I think that's what makes you unique, and that's what makes you stand out, and that's what
your
makes you
gift,
successful.
not someone else's gift, not just mimicking someone.
Exactly.
That's incredible. The other person I got to meet, Marty Stewart. You know, he's been doing it for so long, and now I know that he's big on Nashville, but he's also big on supporting small towns, and he goes deliberately to small towns to support a way of life, you know, communicate stuff. Very down to earth, incredibly talented. Oh my goodness. That's
really beautiful, especially hearing someone from a small town, hearing someone say that, you know, they love small town life. And like when I was in Kansas, where I grew up, it's like we had maybe 3,000 people in the whole town. Like it's just a tiny little town, and it's like coming from that, I would always want to do that. I would always want to go back, and I go back every year because that's where my family's from. And it's like, it's a way of life that it's not hurried, it's not rushed, and it teaches you so much about what really matters and how time goes slower there, which is so weird. How time is so relative, because you'll just get out there and there's this sunset and this field in front of you, and you got your family next to you, and it's unlike anything in this world. And it's like, this is what truly matters. And this is where I want to, like, whenever I'm done doing music, whenever I'm done with all this, that's where I want to be, is I want to be surrounded by family in a place where you remember what really matters. Because I think we can get so lost in like, oh, I need to be here, and then I need to do this, and then I need to do this. And it's like we forget to be in the moment where we are, and we lose out on people that way. We lose out on connections that way. We lose out on being who we are and expressing that. I mean, it's like, if you can be in that moment and nothing else exists out of that, then it's like you get so much more out of life, and it's exciting, and you take that with you wherever you go, that experience. And that's how I stay happy so much of the time, you know, because it's like, I'm here and this is so awesome. And, you know, and whenever I get to come to the Crighton, that honestly brightens my day no matter what, because it's like, I'm on this stage and I'm in this theater, and just looking out and seeing all the seats and just the lights, and there's nothing like it. It excites me.
It gets in your blood.
It really does. It really does. So even if I'm not doing like a show, just being in the atmosphere is really big for me.
Wow. Who else in your family is creative like you are?
My brother, actually, believe it or not. And he plays drums. He likes to write beats a lot on his computer, so he does kind of like that thing. And I keep telling him, I'm like, hey, be my drummer. Be my drummer. Come on stage with me. Like, do this with me. And he can sing. He's got all this like talent. And I just don't think that that's what he wants. I think he wants to do more the production side. He has an amazing ear. Like if I go and I record something in the studio, it's like, you have to come with me because I know you hear everything.
Right.
Like he hears like the little details that I just don't hear sometimes. And I think that that's so awesome and like beautiful. And he's actually thinking about going to Belmont. He's applying. And so I think that's so awesome that he's going to like do something with music because it's one of those things that I want to share with him. And it's funny because no one else in my family is musical. And
just
everyone,
you two.
Yeah, everyone else was like, where did you get it from?
You skipped generations? What's
and
going on?
It did. And my mom was adopted. So for the longest time, we didn't really know because no one really on my dad's side of the family was musical. And it turns out my mom's dad won a record contract with RCA Records, beat out Buck Owens for it, like way back in the day, and then just never ended up taking him up on that. But so finding out like, hey, like I actually come from something, like I fit somewhere, like they used to just jam, and it's like, okay, like that's really cool. So knowing that I come from something is like really cool to me, because now it's like I feel like if I go and do something with my music that I'm doing it not just for me but for him, for his legacy that he was never able to do because he died when my mom was very young in like an accident. So it's like if I could do something, it'd be for him too.
Wow.
And I don't know, it's really cool. And that's why I want my brother to get in on it too, because it's like it's a family deal. You can do this. But we'll see. That
is cool. When you're done with your music career, whenever that is,
yes.
What do you want to do?
When I'm done, that's hard because I won't ever stop writing. I don't.
Well,
think
no,
I'll
you don't
stop.
need to say you stop.
But once I'm done, I don't know, because there's nothing other than just being creative that I like doing. I love theater. I love dance. I love writing. I'd love to write a book at some point. I'd love to write a play at some point.
You keep a journal?
I do. Okay. I do. I've started both of those endeavors.
Yes.
I've started them. And I'd love to just be able to anything to do with helping people. Whether it's talking to them, whether it's performing for them.
Sure.
Because that's really where my heart is I want people to live up to their potential. And I find it so sad that people feel like they have to go out and to have fun, they have to drink, or they have to do, like they can't be themselves. And I think that that's the saddest thing in the world, because I think the most liberating feeling is to know that you can be yourself and you don't need anything like that. And you can be fun and you can be funny and you can show the different sides of you. And it's like, and so that's kind of my life's mission in any way, shape, or form, to help other people feel like they can be themselves and that they can live up to an amazing potential. Because I feel like we all cut ourselves short.
That's interesting. So do you think that we as a society send that message that in order to have fun or be good or rich, whatever, successful, you have to be someone else other than who you are?
I do. I really think that, because I think that it's almost like even the people who are celebrities, who we say, oh, they're just themselves and they can do whatever. There's still that underlying message of, but everyone's watching you.
Yeah.
And
first of
like,
all, you're changing your name, because
yeah.
that's not really your name.
Yeah.
You're going to have this name, right? Done right. Got to have this name.
It's like, no, but I think, and there's this whole stigma of find yourself, and it's like, no, create who you want to be and live it. Like, I think you have the freedom on any day to say, hey, what do I want to be like? What do I want to be like today? And I think you should be able to do that. And I think that we let the opinions of others keep us from doing that. And I did for so long, and I'm still working on that. But like, I think life becomes your playground when you really realize that, like, hey, I can be whoever I want to be, and I can be the person that I want to be, regardless of whatever happens. Like, I can just do it. And it's exciting, because then anyone you meet, it's like, that's a new adventure. And any experience you have, that's a new adventure. And that's what enriches life, is experiences.
I think we found your new career. You are going to be a motivational speaker, make tons of money, and that's after you're a successful songwriter.
That would be fun.
And then you can take over Marty Stewart's role of, building up Nashville and keeping it going and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I think as artists, as songwriters, we need to build each other up more too.
Yes.
Because I think it is competitive. It really is.
Absolutely, yeah.
But our overall goal is the same. And I think when you step back and you realize that, it's like, I want to be the one that can help somebody not be afraid right before they step on stage, because I want them to go out there and reach the person that I couldn't. Because we're unique and because we have so many different things to offer people, we reach different people. And so I can't reach everybody with my message. And so for that person that's sitting there that it couldn't reach them, I want them to go out there. And I want to be like, hey, you go and you get that person and you talk to them and you reach them. And so thinking about it that way, it took me a long time to get to that and to realize, you know, like, I want everybody else to be successful. And I want these other singers and songwriters to be successful because we want to help people, and that's why we do what we do, and it's so important.
Do you have a favorite charity that you like to do stuff with?
I've done things with different charities throughout my music stuff, and I love doing charity stuff. I really do. My heart is mainly for health issues and things like that. I really want to, at some point, go to hospitals and sing for kids there, because I feel like they really need it. And my play that I'm wanting to write is about that, actually. It's about God being more than enough. And I want to take Taylor's story and my story of how sometimes health issues keep you from things that you love, like theater, and how you can overcome that, and God is more than enough, and it teaches you things, and it grows you as a person, and it's not the end of everything. And that's what I want to write my play about. So whenever that is, of all these things that I have that I want to do, whatever God's plan is for that, I'm excited. I'm definitely excited.
Who are your role models?
Oh, I have so many. I have role models in my family that I look up to, that amaze me how they love people. And I think that it's really special to watch how someone, when they feel truly loved, they blossom into the person that they want to be. And that's kind of what I want to do as a person, is I want to love people. And there's another mentor. There's my biggest mentor right now. His name is Matthew Hussey. And he is a life coach. He's also a dating coach, but his life stuff is so spot on, and it has changed the way I look at business. Like, he has like business seminars, and he'll talk about like going after it no matter what, like, and not being afraid of it. And I'm super excited because I won a contest to get to go spend a retreat for 5 days with him in Florida. And so I am like beyond excited, and I feel like it's a God thing, because it's like I want to keep growing as a person, and anything I can learn from anyone, I want to learn. So he's probably my biggest mentor right now, but I really want to find mentors in all different areas of life, because I feel like that enriches it and it teaches you things. It's like you don't have to go through all the mistakes that everyone else ends up making. And so I'm still on the look for mentors in other areas of my life. But I think that it's really exciting when you do find somebody who you can really look up to, and you can be like, oh, like, I love what they're doing, and I want to do some of that.
Do you have people that look to you as a mentor?
I don't know.
Or at least I haven't told you that, right? I haven't told you that.
That would be amazing. I would love to like give you a big hug if you do. But I don't know. I would hope that's another dream of mine too, is I want to inspire people. And I want them to go on and do their own thing and continue to help other people. So it's kind of like one of those pay it forward kind of things. It's like I want them to go out and be an inspiration for other people too.
So when are you going to this 5-day seminar?
And I think it's the end of May. And I'm super excited. Oh gosh, it was like out of 3,000 people, and I was so shocked that I actually won.
Wow.
And so I'm definitely excited. I feel like it's going to help my music business, and I feel like it's going to help me grow as a person. And I'm excited about that because I love anything like that. It's kind of a hobby of mine. I like to just learn about how to do things more efficiently so I can get more done. Because I feel like as an artist, as a singer-songwriter, you try to do the job of like 5 different people, or that normally a team would do. So trying to find a way to do that and like eliminate your stress as much as you can is always so important, because no one's going to do it as well as you will do it. And no one's going to...
Or care as much as you do.
Yes, no one's going to put as much into it and do it the way you want. And two, there are some aspects of the business that I would never know how I would want someone else to do it if I hadn't learned how to do it first. So I'm still kind of in the process of learning how to do that as far as like managing a band and putting all that together. And it's like, how do you do this logistically to the best way that you can? And it's a lot of little things to learn, but it's still fun.
Do you feel, as a female versus, say, a male, that you have to work harder, differently, whatever, to get to the same goal?
In some aspects, yes, especially in country music, because there's a lot of guys that dominate the country music charts.
Right.
And as a woman, I feel like we tend to we get afraid of being unique. And I think that with a lot of the feminist movement, it's like we want everything that the guys do. And I think in some ways we've lost what makes us special and what makes us unique, and like wearing heels and dresses and having fun and like, and in a way, like we can do it just as great as the guys do, but in a different way.
In our own way.
And so that's what I want to bring to country music, is I want to bring my own flair to it and kind of just do it the way that like I'm going to do it, and we'll see what happens, but, yeah, so in some ways, yes. In some ways, it can also be an advantage because you can connect with other people that the guys can't.
Right.
But it just depends.
Are there things that you would tell, say, up-and-coming people about the music business? Your lessons learned so far?
Everything you think it is and nothing like you think it is at the same time. It is the most... I mean, just going back and forth to Nashville, learning things that I've learned and seeing the music business for what it is. When you go there for the first time, you think that it's all these people looking for talent and there's scouts out there and they're doing this and that. And it's really not like that at all anymore. Mostly it's you have to have your product developed and ready, and then you go to publishing companies or you go to people and you say, hey, do you like what I have?
Right.
Or you get a following and then they come and approach you. And at first when I went into it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is so stressful and it's like so cutthroat and there's so much competition. And there is, but there's also so much, at least in the country market, there's so much family. And it's really beautiful because here there are these people who are #1 songwriters. Right. And I've gotten to know some of them, and they're just amazing people, and they'll just be your friend, and they'll just be real with you. And a lot of them will take you under their wing, and they'll say, hey, do this or try this because they want to help. And I didn't expect that. I did not think that these #1 writers who are just, doing their thing would be that forthcoming. With advice and with help, but they really are. And they're some of the nicest people I've ever met in Nashville. I mean, it's really, really awesome. And I think that's what's so great about country music is it's like, it's a family thing and it's real and it's 3 chords and the truth. And you get to just be real with each other, and people are like that. I mean, sure, you'll have a one-off kind of thing, but that happens with every aspect of life. But for the majority, they're really just great people.
That's really cool. If you did another style of music, what would you do other than country?
I would probably do pop because I like dancing and I like incorporating that, and I'm planning on doing that with country music anyways. And I think it's fun. And the thing I love about pop music is it gets people up and moving, and they're carefree, and they forget all the worries of the world, and that's something that I really love. And for a long time, I struggled with, well, what genre am I? Because a lot of people are like, well, what genre are you? That's like the first question anyone asks. And at first I thought, well, I'm country, but I'm singer-songwriter, but I'm also like Christian, but then I'm like pop, but then I'm like soul. And then I'm like, that's too many slashes. Like if you said I'm this/this/this. And I was just like, oh gosh, this is bad. Like I need to figure this out. So I had to do some soul searching. And I feel like I'm country soul because I love the heart of what's true in country music. I love old music like Frank Sinatra and Etta James and At Last, and I love bringing those elements and mixing them with country music and modernizing it in a way. And so for me, that's what my genre ended up being, was country soul.
I said not to define you or to put you in a box. It's just that people, you know, they want to know. But then they go like, oh, well, we only do that. No, I can also do this. I could do, you know. Yeah.
For sure. And I have my own flavor of it. And that's what I think is cool about genres, is you get to bring your own flavor to it. Yes, like you might be under that genre, but I'm bringing my own like little niche to it with the soul part. Right.
Yeah, I was thinking, you know, back to Amy Grant, you know, when she originally started out, you know, doing gospel, but she didn't want to be defined that way. And she would make it clear, you know, I do say this stuff, but I don't want to be defined that way. And so, but yeah, you know, I guess we just want to put labels on things because it simplifies things.
We do, because we think, oh, well, I want to have a clear definition of what that is in my head. And I want to be able to like picture it. And so I think we do. And I don't think that's bad in some aspects, but I think too, as Christians, it can really like limit your market, which is why I love country music, because it's like, I can be who I am. And I'm like, yeah, like we talk about God all the time in country music, you know, like that's just who we are, you know? So that's what I love about country music too, is it's so straight up front and honest. And so I can really just be myself, and I can share that, and I don't have to be afraid of people being like, oh, like now that you're not in this genre anymore because you did this or you said this. And it's like, no, like it's country music. It's true. You know, it's just the truth.
What do you do at songwriter conferences?
Oh, I take lots of notes. I love songwriting conferences. It depends on the type. I went to a performance boot camp with Tom Jackson, and that was kind of more on stage performance and how you're going to arrange your songs and with your band and what kind of theater term blocking would you do and what would you do in different moments and how do you establish a show and really do a show. And he is really one of the only coaches that does that. And you think that there would be a lot more people that do that, but he does it very well. And it was amazing to watch that. And I think that was like a 2-day thing that I went to. I do a lot of stuff with NSAI, and that's Nashville Songwriters Association International. They have different like hubs in different cities, like Dallas has one and Houston has one, but the main one is in Nashville. And it is the most amazing organization that I've ever, like, if it was not for NSAI, I would not know as nearly as much as what I know about the music industry, because what they do is they bring you into it and they teach you it, and they make opportunities to where you can actually connect with these people who are doing it today. Like the last songwriting one that I went to, Lance Carpenter was there, and he's one of the newer #1 songwriters in Nashville. Some other people who write for Reba, lots of different people were there, and they were sharing their life experiences in a real way that, like, this is how I do it, this is what I do. And then we were able to submit some of our songs to them, and they would evaluate it, and they would say, I like this, you need to change this, you need to get better at this, but this is great. And it's
as part of the conference.
Yes, as part of it. And so it's like I've learned so much out of that, made so many connections with other writers, and it's funny because they'll call it like, that's your class, because you get to co-writing with people around you, and then as you all get better, it's like suddenly that class is the #1 songwriters, because like you grow together and it just kind of flows like that. So it was really cool to meet these other people who are up and coming just like me, who are writing and who are learning this, and to like motivate them and have them motivate me. And that's probably my favorite part about it, is just getting to know them and hearing their experiences, because they're out there doing it where I am right now. And I think that's where you can learn the most.
Well, it's interesting because when I hear like acting, there's plenty of places that will purport, and I use the term loosely, to be acting schools, and we'll work on getting you contracts, but they're not. They're really just taking your money.
Yeah.
But this doesn't sound like that. This sounds like this is really a family affair. We really want to give you the opportunities. We really want to work with you.
Yes.
And help you to get better.
Yes. And I mean, I'm so glad. I don't even remember how I stumbled upon it. Like, I don't even remember, but it was it's awesome. And the other awesome thing is the NSAI Houston group here, and they'll hold workshops, like Amanda Williams, who recently had a Garth Brooks cut, which is awesome, and it's like one of my favorites on the album. She had a workshop downtown, and we went into the Houston Chronicle building because somebody in the NSAI Houston had the connections, and they opened it up to us, and we went up there and we listened to her talk about her process, and then we all got together with different groups and wrote a song that day. And like, they're like, okay, you have like 2 hours, write a song, come back, we're gonna play it for everybody. And of course, not everybody finishes it in that amount of time, because that's really cutting it. I mean, the pros, like, they sit down, I think maybe 4 hours, they're like done. They just, I don't know how they do it, but it's so we do that, and we get together and we write songs, and we come back and we share it, and to hear what other people do is just like so cool, and to actually be able to do that here in Houston is amazing. And the people at the Houston NSAI meetings, they have meetings every second Monday of the month at Do-Si-Do 1488. And what they do, what they do is, if you're a member, you can play a song and they'll critique it for you right there. And you come home with like a stack of, because you bring in lyric sheets, you hand them out, of just notes on your stuff. And it's like the awesomest thing, because then you're like, okay, now I know, oh, this person took it this way, and they thought this, and it's like that group, it iron sharpens iron, and we all make each other better, and it's the coolest place, and the sweetest, most lovely people. Like, that's the other thing as a songwriter. It's terrifying to say, hey, this is my baby, I just wrote it, what do you think? Don't kill it. Right. You know? And they're so great about being like, respecting that, because they're also songwriters, and they know what it's like when you get up there and you are just like, hey,
putting it out there.
So that's really special too, is that they keep that in mind, and they'll tell you, but they'll still be honest, but they'll make it to where it doesn't hurt so much, you know? Like, it's like one of those things that, like, it really can, like, but and it's really great. It's a safe place.
How do you sift through all these comments? Because they can't all be consistent.
They aren't.
So how do you sift through and say, like, you know, okay, I'm taking this, I'm learning from this. Nah. I think a lot of it is, like, deep down gut feeling. You'll know. Like, they'll say something, you're like, I knew that there was something wrong with that line. Like, I should have, you know. A lot of it's gut instinct, and then a lot of it is just learning the craft. You kind of, as you read books and as you take in more and more information, you kind of see, okay, this kind of tends to be a trend, and okay, I know that, that is true, and I should follow that advice. And then different people, other songwriters that you really respect, that you're like, wow, they are making it happen, they know what they're doing, their song is spot on. If they said that about my song, then I need to listen. Like, it's like sometimes, it's like, okay, I should probably look at that, I guess. But yeah, so it's and some of it too, you got to take it with a grain of salt, because I mean, you never know, and it's all opinion at the end of the day. I mean, even if you get a #1 songwriter that's looking at your song, it's just his opinion. I mean, and you never know. I mean, you could take that same song, and I have taken it to a different writer, and they'll love it, while this person just totally ripped it to pieces, and just, you know. But it's all a matter of opinion, and stylistically, and it's all subjective, and it's funny, because sometimes even the #1 songwriters, you don't know what's going to be a hit until it is. Songs just become hits. They don't always start off as hits, but sometimes they get that buzz, and it just becomes what it becomes. And I think that's really freeing as a songwriter to know that, because any song can become a hit. You don't just write a hit. There's not that pressure of, oh, I have to write a hit. It has to be a hit. Is this line a hit? Are you sure about that? No, it's got to be a hit. It's got to be a hit.
I mean, yes, you want to write the best you can, but songs become it. Let it become what it's going to become. And then you don't have to worry so much about self-editing as you're writing, because I think that's the death of any songwriter or writer in general, is editing too much and censoring it too much, and just being like, oh, should I say it that way? Should I say it? You know? And then it just stunts everything. But if you can just let it flow and then just go back. I mean, you can always go back. It's not set in stone. You're not writing it in a stone tablet. You know, you can always go back and rewrite it. So
Wow.
It's always good to know. It's been good for me to remember.
We're so glad that you've come out for Producers. We hope you'll come out for more of the shows. We love having you here.
I love it.
And we're going to keep looking for your music. There's that
Sounds
one. So
good.
we knew her when.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. And I hope that if you're watching, you enjoyed it.
We're going to have a good time. But we're still going to ask her the question everybody gets to answer. If heaven exists, what do you want God to say when you get to the pearly gates?
I would want him to be proud of what I've done. And I think that whenever I look back at whatever I'm doing, I keep that in mind because I want to make him proud. And I want to do what I was supposed to do in this life. And I want to touch people and I want to love people. Mm-hmm. And I want him to feel like I've loved people. That's
and he's going to give you this violin set. Did you ever learn to play this?
Whoa! Not really. We'll see.
You know what? But it sounds really good up here.
Yeah. For sure.
Hillary, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun. I really did.